When I was 19, broke, driving a piece of shit car that coughed every time I touched the gas, I pulled up at a red light. Next to me, roof down, music blasting, was an Aston Martin with a foreign plate. Some Swedish guy, maybe 30, sunglasses on, blonde girl in the passenger seat, both laughing like life was theirs to toy with. And I sat there, staring at my cracked dashboard, realizing in that moment, there are people on this planet living lives I couldn't even touch. That anger stuck with me. It burned into my brain. Most people would laugh, shrug, say, it's only a car. I couldn't let it go. I thought, why him and not me? And that one thought became fuel. That anger became oxygen. Years later, I drive through Eastern Europe in my Lamborghini. Top down, girl next to me, and I see the looks on the faces at the bus stop. The exact same look I once gave that man. That full circle is what most men will never experience, because when they see success, they brush it off. They dilute the fire. They convince themselves it doesn't matter. That's why they'll stay invisible. I couldn't ignore it. When a Ferrari blew past me at 18, I felt like the universe was insulting me. My friends didn't care. They laughed. They accepted mediocrity like it was oxygen. But I couldn't. I wanted to choke on the thought until I built a life where nobody could ignore me. Here's the truth. If seeing someone else win doesn't light a violent storm in your chest, you've already lost. If your response to wealth, beauty, power is indifference, you're finished. Because indifference produces no action. Anger is energy. Envy is fuel. I didn't soothe myself with excuses. I weaponized it. I told myself, I will get that car or I will die trying. That's the energy that takes you out of mediocrity and throws you into the league where every day feels like war. Most men don't get it. They think they have infinite time. They think being a millionaire at 60 is winning. Number. Winning is being young, strong, dangerous, rich, and free while the world is still forced to kneel in front of you. Winning is living like a conqueror, not a survivor. And the window to do it is short. Your youth doesn't last. Your strength doesn't last. And if you waste it, you'll look back wishing you had burned instead of coasted. When I was broke, I couldn't sleep. Not because of bills, not because of stress, because I knew I was wasting my life. I knew other men were awake grinding while I laid there like a coward. I wanted money like I wanted air. I wanted to breathe wealth. I wanted to drown in it. Every second I didn't have it, I was suffocating. That's why I made it. Because I refused to sit comfortably in mediocrity like everyone else. And don't lie to yourself. This world is competition. Every car you want, another man wants. Every house you want, another man wants. Every girl you want, another man wants. If you don't approach life like a battlefield, you've already surrendered. When I tell people this, they laugh. They say, oh, it's not that serious. That's why they're losers. It is that serious. Every second is war. Every second someone's trying to climb over you, take your spot, live the life you fantasize about while you waste time pretending it's not a game. You can't out-talk reality. You can't out-dream reality. You can only outwork, out-fight, outlast reality. And if you're the type who says, I don't feel like working today, understand there's a man like me out there who never stops. If I'm awake, I'm working. I don't relax. I don't sit back and enjoy the fruits. I squeeze more. I drain life dry. So if you're out there wasting nights on movies, wasting days on excuses, just know you're competing against men like me. Men who will bleed before they rest. Men who take joy in the grind. Men who weaponize their anger. This is why losers stay losers. They're lazy, yes, but worse, they're arrogant. They won't listen. They won't learn. I became a world champion because I listened to my coach like his words were law. I became rich because I studied men smarter than me. But losers sit with millionaires and argue. They reject guidance because they're too fragile to admit they know nothing. They'd rather stay broke than bow to wisdom. That's why they'll rot. Nobody cares about your excuses. Nobody cares about your comfort. Not your parents, not your friends, not your boss. Nobody will drag you out of bed and hand you the keys to a Ferrari. Nobody is coming to save you. You either save yourself or you die invisible. That's the reality. And once you accept it, you either collapse into weakness or you rise with anger. And I chose to rise. I chose to be the man people stare at in traffic. I chose to live so loudly the world couldn't ignore me. The masculine world is a never-ending competition, and the sad reality is most men don't even know they're in it. They think they can coast, watch Netflix, sip beer, and somehow stumble into greatness. Wrong. Every day you waste, another man sharpens his sword. Every night you sleep easy, another man stays awake, plowing, working, lifting, building. And when you finally wake up, he's already ahead of you, living the life you want, sleeping with the women you dream about, driving the cars you drool over. You'll tell yourself he's lucky, but luck is just relentless effort stacked until reality caves. I never believed in luck. I believed in obsession. I believed in burning every calorie of energy toward my mission. That's why when I say if I'm awake, I'm working, I mean it. I don't chill. I don't rest. I don't waste. Rest is for the defeated. Relaxation is for men who've already lost. I don't need balance. Balance is a coward's excuse for laziness. I need victory, and victory only comes to men who bleed for it. When you're broke, you don't need comfort, you need war. I couldn't stand the thought of being average. I couldn't tolerate being invisible. I wanted to burn so bright the world had no choice but to notice. And if I had to trade sleep, trade comfort, trade peace, I would. I still would, because peace without power is slavery. Comfort without control is weakness. I'd rather die exhausted chasing everything than live comfortably with nothing. Here's what losers don't get. It's not that they're stupid. It's not that they're doomed. It's that they're lazy and arrogant at the same time. They want wealth, but they don't want to sacrifice. They want women, but they don't want to dominate. They want respect, but they don't want to suffer for it. They're children in men's bodies, still waiting for someone to hand them a trophy. But in this world, nobody hands you shit. You take it, you conquer it, or you stay forgotten. When I wanted to fight, I listened to my coach like every word was sacred. I didn't argue, I didn't question. I executed. That's how I became a world champion. And when it came to money, I didn't pretend I knew better. If Elon Musk walked into a room and talked business, I would shut my mouth and take notes. Losers don't do this. Losers argue. Losers answer back. Losers think their broke little opinion matters more than reality. That arrogance is why they'll die broke, complaining that the system is unfair. And let me tell you the truth, the system is unfair, but it's unfair in your favor if you're ruthless enough to play. Weak men see unfairness as an excuse. Strong men see unfairness as opportunity. You think rich men play fair? You think the powerful care about rules? They bend reality to their will. That's the game. And if you're too soft to play it, you'll spend your life crying about it. I decided early I wasn't going to cry. I was going to conquer. Nobody cares about your dreams until you make them real. Nobody cares about your ambition until it bleeds into results. Talk all you want, cry all you want, complain all you want. The world is deaf to weakness. The only language this planet respects is money, power, and fear. And if you don't speak it, you'll stay silent forever. That's why I told myself, I will be rich or I will die. No middle ground, no compromise. Because compromise is where men go to rot. When I look at average men, I see zombies. Dead-eyed, clocking into jobs they hate, eating shit food, waiting for Friday night to get drunk, numbing the pain of their wasted existence. They call it life, I call it slavery. They gave up before they even started. They looked at the mountain, felt tired, and chose the couch. That's not living. That's dying in slow motion. And I refuse to live like that. I refuse to let the fire inside me be extinguished by the lies of society. I was not built to comply. I was built to conquer. And every man who hears this has the same fire inside him, but most of you bury it under fear. You bury it under excuses. You bury it under laziness. And the world loves it. The world wants you weak, obedient, predictable. They want you eating their cheap food, watching their useless shows, consuming their distractions, never realizing you're a prisoner. But the moment you see the cage, you have two choices. Break it or accept it. I broke it, and I'll never go back. Understand something. I don't chase happiness. Happiness is a trick they sell you to keep you compliant. I chase respect. I chase power. I chase legacy. Because when you build those, happiness comes as a byproduct. But if you chase happiness directly, you end up broke, soft, and forgotten. I measure my life in victories, not feelings. I measure my life in cars, in properties, in freedom, in the fear and respect in the eyes of others. That's how men should live. Because when your days are numbered, you'll regret wasted potential far more than you'll regret sacrificed comfort. Most of you don't realize how short life really is. You think you've got decades to figure it out, but you don't. Every year you waste is a year you'll never get back. And by the time you wake up, your youth is gone. Your strength is gone. Your fire is gone. You'll be 60 with regrets, telling yourself you're finally ready to hustle, but nobody cares about an old man's grind. Winning is about urgency. Winning is about realizing time is the most expensive currency you'll ever spend. And if you burn it on weakness, you'll never buy it back. When I was broke, I wasn't patient. I wasn't calm. I wasn't content. I was pissed off. I was restless. I felt like I was suffocating inside a cage, and that pressure drove me insane. And that insanity was fuel. I didn't meditate it away. I didn't numb it with alcohol. I didn't distract myself with bullshit. I turned it into firepower. Every second I was uncomfortable, I told myself, good. Stay uncomfortable until you get what you want. That's why I won. because comfort never seduced me. You need to understand, this world does not reward average effort. It rewards obsession. It rewards sacrifice. It rewards men who are willing to go further, faster, harder than everyone else. Most people try for a week, then fold. Most people work until they feel tired, then stop. I worked until I collapsed, then stood up and worked again. That's why I'm rich and they're not. It's not because I'm smarter. It's not because I'm lucky. It's because I never quit when it got uncomfortable. People ask me how I get rich, how I build, how I win. The formula is simple. Outwork everyone, outlast everyone, outlearn everyone, and never tolerate weakness in yourself. But most of you will never do it. You'll try for a month, then complain it doesn't work. You'll watch me on the internet and tell yourself I had an advantage. That's the loser's mindset. Winners don't look for excuses. Winners look for leverage. And the truth is, you have more leverage than you think, but you waste it on garbage. You waste your energy on video games, on porn, on alcohol, on gossip, on people who drag you down. Every second you give away to that trash is a second you could have spent sharpening your sword. And then you wonder why your life looks the way it does. You built it with garbage. You constructed your reality out of weakness. Don't be surprised when the final product is pathetic. I built my reality out of discipline, anger, obsession, and work. Every brick I laid was pressure. Every wall I built was sacrifice. And now I live in a fortress of results. When I drive my cars, when I walk into a room, when people whisper my name, it's not because I was lucky. It's because I was relentless. And every single man watching this could do the same, but 99% won't, because they'd rather stay comfortable than risk pain. Let me tell you something. Pain is the price of admission to greatness. You don't get to skip it. You don't get to negotiate it. You either pay in blood and sweat, or you stay broke forever. Weak men try to dodge pain and end up living lives that are one long, slow agony of regret. Strong men run toward it. Strong men swallow pain until it bends to their will. That's how you win. And when you finally start winning, when you taste success, the game doesn't stop, it accelerates. Success isn't a finish line, it's the starting gun. I didn't make my first million and relax. I made my first million and said, now I need 10. I didn't buy my first supercar and say, that's enough. I said, now I need 10 more. Because the moment you stop moving forward, you start dying. Stagnation is death. Growth is life. You either expand or you rot. Most men don't expand because they think satisfaction is the goal. Satisfaction is poison. Satisfaction is how the world tricks you into quitting early. They'll hand you a small promotion, a decent paycheck, a steady girlfriend, and tell you, this is it, be happy now. That's how they chain you. Nobody gives a fuck about your feelings. Nobody gives a fuck about your story. The universe doesn't care if you had a hard childhood, if you're tired, if you're depressed, if life's unfair. None of it matters. The only thing that matters is what you do. Life is binary. You either win or you lose. And if you're losing, the world doesn't hand out sympathy. It hands out disrespect. Weakness is punished. Strength is rewarded. That's the law of reality. When I was broke, nobody felt sorry for me. Nobody offered to help. Nobody cared. And that's when I realized, nobody is coming. Nobody will save you. If you want something, you take it. If you want change, you make it. The second you understand that, your entire life shifts. The second you stop waiting and start acting, you transform. But most of you won't, because deep down you enjoy being weak. You enjoy your excuses. You enjoy blaming the system more than you enjoy fighting it. That's why you'll stay average. You've built an identity around being powerless. And to break that identity means killing the weak version of yourself you've been protecting for years. Most men don't have the balls to do it. They'd rather defend their failure than admit they're capable of more. They'd rather say, it's not that simple, than face the truth that they're lazy cowards. I don't respect that. Nobody respects that. The world spits on that. I respect men who suffer for what they want. I respect men who refuse to quit. I respect men who turn their anger into fuel and build themselves into weapons. Those are the men who rise. Those are the men who take everything. And if you want to be one of them, you have to stop hiding behind excuses and admit that the only reason you're broke, weak, and invisible is because you've allowed yourself to be. I've seen men with average IQs, no connections, no resources climb to wealth and power simply because they refused to be lazy. They refused to waste time. They refused to be comfortable. They attacked life like soldiers storming a city, and eventually the city fell. Meanwhile, geniuses sit broke, too arrogant to listen, too soft to sacrifice, too weak to keep moving when it hurts. Intelligence doesn't win. Obsession wins. Relentlessness wins. Ruthlessness wins. The truth is brutal. The competition is real and it's ruthless. Every dollar you want, another man wants. Every woman you want, another man wants. Every dream you have, another man is working for it. And if he's willing to bleed more than you, he's going to take it. That's the world. That's the game. You can deny it, pretend it's not true, but you'll just watch from the sidelines while the stronger men eat everything you wanted. You want a Ferrari? So does he. You want freedom? So does he. You want to escape the matrix? So does he. Who's going to push harder? Who's going to work longer? Who's going to sacrifice more? That's the only question that matters. And if the answer isn't you, then accept your fate. You'll be the man at the bus stop, staring at someone else living the life you dreamed of, wondering why it wasn't you. I decided early that wasn't going to be me. I decided that if life was war, I would fight like a savage. I would never be outworked. I would never be outlasted. I would never stop moving forward. And that's why I won. That's why I built an empire while other men built excuses. That's why I own cars that used to haunt my dreams. That's why I conquered the game while everyone else waited for luck. Even now, I'm not satisfied. Even now, with more money than I can spend, more cars than I can drive, more respect than I imagined, I wake up hungry. Because I know the moment I stop, I start to rot. I know the moment I relax, someone else is gaining ground. And I'll never let that happen. I'll keep pushing, keep building, keep conquering until the day I die. That's the mindset of a winner. That's the mindset you need if you ever want to escape mediocrity. But most of you won't. You'll listen, nod, get motivated for 10 minutes, then go back to your weak habits. You'll go back to scrolling, back to drinking, back to sleeping in, back to wasting your life. And then you'll wonder why nothing changes. Here's the truth. Motivation fades. Discipline doesn't. Winners don't rely on motivation. They rely on systems. They rely on discipline. They build routines so brutal they don't need feelings to carry them. They move because they've built themselves into machines. That's what I became, a machine. Wake up, grind, fight, build, expand, repeat. Day after day, year after year. And now the world calls me lucky, when in reality I just refuse to quit. That's the secret. Not genius, not talent, not privilege, just an unbreakable refusal to stop. The second you stop moving, you start dying. That's what most men don't understand. They hit one goal, buy one car, get one promotion, and then they relax. They think they've arrived. That's when they start rotting. Life is a constant expansion. You either grow or you decay. You either conquer or you're conquered. There's no middle ground. The second you decide to take it easy, you're already finished. When I made my first million, I didn't celebrate. I didn't stop. I didn't take a vacation. I looked at the number and thought, good, now I need 10. Because the hunger doesn't stop, it multiplies. I wasn't chasing comfort, I was chasing power. And power has no finish line. It's endless. The more you get, the more you see how much more there is to take. That's the drug of conquest. That's the fire of ambition. And once you taste it, you can never go back to being normal. Most of you will never taste it. You'll never know what it feels like to live every day like a general planning a war. To feel that obsessive drive to build, to dominate, to expand. You'll never know it because you're too soft. You want results without sacrifice. You want victory without pain. You want power without pressure. It doesn't work that way. Greatness comes with a price, and the price is everything you've got. You think you can half-ass it and win? You think you can work 8 hours a day, relax at night, take weekends off, and somehow beat men who never switch off? Wake up. You're competing against maniacs. You're competing against killers. You're competing against men like me who don't understand rest, who don't understand balance, who don't understand quitting. And if you think your soft little effort is enough, you're already defeated. This is why I despise mediocrity. Mediocrity is the disease that infects the modern man. The world teaches you to be satisfied with average. A steady job, a mortgage, a fat stomach, a cheap vacation once a year, and a coffin at the end. That's the life they sell you. That's the prison they build for you. And most of you buy it. Most of you walk right in and call it security. I call it slavery. I wasn't built for slavery. I wasn't built to comply. I was built to fight, to win, to conquer. And if you're listening to this and you feel that spark inside, you know you were too. But the spark won't save you. You have to feed it. You have to pour gasoline on it until it becomes a fire that consumes everything in your way. That's what I did. I turned obsession into fuel. I turned pain into momentum. I turned every insult, every loss, every failure into rage that pushed me further. Do you think it was easy? Do you think I didn't suffer? I suffered more than you could imagine. But instead of folding, I absorbed it. Instead of crying, I sharpened it. Pain was my teacher. Pressure was my gym. Anger was my engine. And because I embraced them, I became unstoppable. That's the lesson losers will never learn. They run from pain. They avoid pressure. They fear anger. And because of that, they stay weak. The truth is, the universe doesn't reward feelings. It rewards results. You either produce or you don't. You either take or you're taken from. You either climb or you sink. That's it. There is no balance, no fairness, no safety net. It's all war. And if you're not armed to the teeth, if you're not feral in your ambition, you're gonna get eaten alive. I wanted to conquer the earth. I still do. That's why I own the cars I dreamed of. That's why I have freedom most men can't even picture. That's why I live like a king while others live like slaves. Because I refused to stop. I refused to soften. I refused to accept average. And that refusal made me everything I am. Even now, I'm not satisfied. Even now, with everything I've built, I wake up hungry. Because the war never ends. The battlefield doesn't disappear just because you've won a few fights. There's always another mountain. There's always another target. There's always another empire to take. And I will never stop until the day they bury me. That's the difference between me and you. You're waiting for the finish line. I know there isn't one. So you have a choice. Keep wasting your life on excuses, or decide today that you'll bleed for what you want. Decide today that you'll never stop. Decide today that you'll embrace pain, pressure, anger, and obsession as the tools that will build your empire. Because if you don't, you'll die average. You'll die invisible. And history will never remember you. Most men live their whole lives asleep. They shuffle through existence like cattle, never questioning, never pushing, never fighting. They convince themselves that mediocrity is enough, because admitting otherwise would expose the truth. They're cowards. They don't want to face the war, so they hide from it. They drown themselves in distractions, in entertainment, in addictions, in lies, just so they never have to look in the mirror and admit they failed. I never let myself sleep through life. I forced myself awake. Every second I reminded myself I was in a battle. And when you live like that, the world changes. You see opportunities where others see obstacles. You feel urgency where others feel apathy. You develop a hunger that never leaves. And that hunger becomes your advantage. People ask me why I have so many cars, why I make so much money, why I push so hard when I could have stopped years ago. It's because I remember being broke. I remember standing at the bus stop, watching men in Ferraris laugh as they sped past, and feeling like the universe was mocking me. That pain burned into my soul. And now, when I sit behind the wheel of my own supercars, when people look at me the way I once looked at others, it's proof that the pain wasn't wasted. It was fuel. If you're not pissed off at your life, you'll never change it. If you're not angry at being average, you'll stay average. If you're not disgusted by mediocrity, you'll live in it forever. Anger is power. Rage is fuel. But only if you direct it. Only if you channel it. Most of you let your... I chose long ago. I chose to conquer. I chose to bleed, to suffer, to sacrifice, to grind until my name couldn't be ignored. I chose war over comfort. I chose obsession over balance. I chose results over excuses. And that choice gave me everything. Freedom, wealth, respect, power, legacy. Everything average men dream about but never touch. And let me tell you something, it's worth it. Every sleepless night, every drop of sweat, every moment of pain, it's all worth it when you step into the life you built with your own hands. When you wake up free, when you drive what you want, when you live where you want, when you move through the world like a storm no one can stop, it's worth it. But you'll never feel it if you keep lying to yourself. You'll never taste it if you keep hiding from the fight. You'll never own it if you keep choosing comfort over conquest. You have to decide now. You have to draw a line and tell yourself, I will never be average again. I will never be weak again. I will never waste another day. From this moment forward, it's war. From this moment forward, it's conquest. Because the truth is simple. You only get one life, one shot, one chance to make yourself unforgettable, one chance to conquer. And the world doesn't owe you anything. If you want it, you take it. If you want respect, you earn it. If you want freedom, you fight for it. That's the law of reality. That's the game. So I'll leave you with this. Either you decide to become relentless, or you stay forgotten. Either you build your empire, or you build excuses. Either you conquer, or you die invisible. The choice is yours. But understand, while you hesitate, while you waste, while you hide, men like me are out here taking everything. And when it's all gone, when the world has already been divided among the men who had the balls to fight, you'll be left with nothing but regret. Don't let that be your story. Don't let that be your legacy. Get angry, get focused, get obsessed, and take what you want before it's too late. The problem with most of you is you're addicted to waiting. Waiting for motivation, waiting for the perfect time, waiting until you feel ready. Let me tell you the truth. You'll never feel ready. Readiness is an illusion. Action creates readiness. Confidence comes from doing, not from waiting. Power comes from movement, not from hesitation. I was never ready. I just moved. I just fought. I just risked. And the universe bent to my will because I forced it to. I've met thousands of men who wanted to be rich, wanted to be powerful, wanted to be respected. And you know what they all had in common? They were waiting. Waiting for luck. Waiting for someone to help them. Waiting for a miracle. Waiting for some magical sign. Meanwhile, I was working. While they waited, I conquered. While they dreamed, I executed. That's the only difference. You think life is about balance, about comfort, about being happy. Life is about conquest. Life is about victory. Life is about bending the world until it breaks in your hands. That's where happiness comes from. Not in chasing it directly, but in crushing obstacles, stacking wins, building empires. Happiness is the side effect of domination. If you chase it, you'll never find it. If you conquer, it comes automatically. And understand this, your mind is your greatest weapon, but most of you treat it like garbage. You fill it with trash, with weakness, with distractions. You poison it with mediocrity, and then you wonder why your reality is mediocre. Your reality is built by your mind. What you feed it becomes your life. Feed it strength, discipline, ambition, obsession, and your life will reflect it. Feed it weakness, excuses, fear, laziness, and your life will rot. I built my mind into a fortress. I trained it to reject weakness. I programmed it with discipline. I forced it to endure pressure until pressure became normal. That's why I don't break. That's why I don't quit. That's why I'm free. My mind is a weapon sharper than any blade, and I keep it sharp every single day. That's what you need to do if you ever want to escape the cage. But here's the catch. You don't get to sharpen your mind in comfort. You don't get to build mental strength by doing easy shit. You only grow through pain, through pressure, through challenge. That's why I put myself through war. That's why I embraced suffering. Every drop of pain made me harder. Every ounce of pressure made me sharper. Every setback was fuel. And now, when the world throws problems at me, I don't fold. I slice through them. Most of you fold at the first sign of discomfort. That's why you'll stay where you are. You can't handle heat. You can't handle struggle. You can't handle pressure. And if you can't handle those, you can't handle greatness. Because greatness is nothing but pressure stacked on pressure, pain stacked on pain, struggle stacked on struggle. If you can't carry it, you'll never touch it.